Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. As always, want to thank you guys for your support in every way.
Indeed, we do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, as we're always striving to, recognize what we need to give in order to help enlighten and, help awakening process that's underway. Well, I wanted to just share a little clarification, and this from our perspective, my perspective / our perspective, what we've gotten in our channeling of different entities as well. There's so much kind of hidden in plain sight. When you look to the Hindu mythologies, again, these mythologies, there is actual facts and truth, and there's also a lot of universal knowledge and understanding that's been given to us from these beings from higher densities and from more advanced civilizations to us. And it can look kind of crazy and silly and wild, and we can also sometimes tame things down into being just vague generalizations about truths. We could look to the bigger picture and the allegories that are given, but sometimes the facts are kind of mind-blowing, really. Garuda, the airline of Indonesia. Did you know that Jakarta is now the biggest city in the world? Wow, Indonesia has the most populous city in the world in the blinking of an eye as Tokyo is giving way. But, this is really wild, because what are we looking at with this kind of bird-like man being? I feel that what this is referencing is actually the avians. Like when we talk about the blue avians, these are different beings that have worked to help humans in different times in the past. Literal, actual, physical, beings. Well, physical, again, is relative to the density that we're on at what time we are talking about things. And again, that's all about where consciousness is manifesting itself. So when we look to Garuda, I think ultimately what the Hindu mythologies, the winged protector in Hindu mythology, Garuda is a very benevolent being. Garuda comes at times and gets people out of big problems and trouble. It's like when it looks like, the hero is going to not be able to succeed, what happens? Garuda comes, swoops in, and helps, in some cases literally carries people away on his back. And I think this is, again, a reference to the beings that we would call the blue avians and others of the like. Again, the wings can, for one instance, depict the ability to fly. In some cases, they're probably actual wings. And again, it's just so fun to look into the mythologies and see the truth that lies there. So the winged protector of Vishnu. In the Hindu tradition, Vishnu is thought of as the preserver, that force that preserves and keeps the natural order. There's so much confusion. When you look at the Hindu deities, you can say, well, there's only one God. We're taught there's only one God. Yeah, you're taught that too in Hinduism. There's really only one creative force. It manifests as many different things. In fact, everything that you see, every little individuated unit of consciousness, is that one source manifesting in different ways. So I just wanted to bring some clarity to this because it can be very, very confusing.
Well, I think it's important when the scriptures do write something or books do write something that they do kind of have to personify it so that people can understand it. And that's what we're having.
Yeah. How do you get universal truths and actual, actual details about how things really, really work in this multiverse across to people of varying intellectual capability?
You have to hit it from so many different angles, and that's why I encourage people to read all kinds of different, ancient scriptures.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. And then, of course, there's symbolism. You see Vishnu in the middle here spinning a chakra. Well, it is a chakra. It's a wheel. It's a disc. Chakras, they line the human body. They are dimensional portals. They are always drawing life force into us. There's a lot of different ways of looking at things. And here you have Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma. Now that's Brahma and not Brahman. They're very, very different, but yet they're the same. Oh, here comes the confusion, right? You have the Trinity, the Trimurti, the Hindu Trinity of Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. Again, these are ways of looking at things, conceptualizing, humanizing for people, to understand. Underneath there, you have another Trinity. Yes, so this is the Yang Trinity. This is the Yin Trinity below it, Sarasvati, Parvati, and Lakshmi. And then we have these other entities below that. Kali and Durga are one and the same, and yet they're not. And, again, they come out of Parvati, which, again, but they're also references to all the divine feminine, the Shakti energy. Yeah, it can be very, very confusing. But this has been done over, millennia in order to, again, teach humans how the universe works. The 24 avatars of Vishnu. Well, some sources will only give you 10. Others, there's varying sources again. But what you see is now these are incarnations of Vishnu, and perhaps the most famous two would be Rama and would be, again, Krishna. Now, Rama and Krishna, though, they are separate beings from Vishnu, and this is, again, how the multiverse works. Now, these again, Vishnu is thought of as the preserver, but in Vaishnavism, which elevates Vishnu to the supreme position, it's said in the Bhagavata Purana, for instance, that when the universe is going to come into being, Vishnu lies down and literally gives birth to Brahma, who then does the actual work of constructing the material universe. And literally, Vishnu is dreaming everything that we see. And you have Shiva as the destroyer, destroyer of the illusion, because ultimately this is all Maya, this is all an illusion. But it's an agreed upon illusion, and it's not a negative illusion. No, it's all about learning, growth, and experiences, because ultimately we are consciousness, which is having the experience of being a human. And we do a lot of transmigrating. We go through different vehicles. Bodies are vehicles for consciousness. And, again, we are multidimensional beings. So when you look at these different avatars, in a lot of ways they could be talking about, the journey of the soul through various stages. Typically when you see them referencing 10 avatars of Vishnu, you'll see like a fish version, a turtle version, and then there's the first human version. Again, you can allegorically look at that as how life tends to become more complicated, and ever increasing levels of knowledge, understanding is gained, and that rises to a new consciousness, rises to an all new level. So, there's a lot of, I understand why you can look at this and think, wow, the Hindu world is just crazy, and it doesn't make any sense. That sometimes it's very, very violent, but at the same time, it's also telling us about principles like ahimsa, which is nonviolence. And literally, well, you have the choice between letting a bee that came into the house out the front door, trying to trap it and throw it out the front door, or you could just squish it. The practice of ahimsa, you'll get it, catch it, and throw it out the front door, which is something I do all the time with bees and spiders and wasps and things like that. Because it's understood that there's karmic repercussions for every single act we do. Every act has a karmic repercussion. And yet sometimes, it's necessary to go ahead and protect others that can't protect themselves. And a lot of these stories are talking ultimately about the triumph of the light over the darkness. How can you have a story that brings a being like Kali into manifestation? Kali is kind of it's the wild woman. It's almost borderline demonic. I guess you could say it is kind of demonic at times. But the situation there was that there were demons that were threatening all of creation. And even the devas, the big devas, again, were not able to stop these demons because they had grown so powerful. So what happened? Well, out of Parvati, Durga is born, but really what it is all the goddess energies, all the divine feminine had to come together because the yin aspect, the divine feminine, is manifestation. And so, ultimately, that is the ultimate power in the manifested universe, the divine feminine. And so it took all the goddesses coming together to unify as one goddess, Durga, which then gave birth to Kali out of Durga. This is you could say it's the aggressive, destructive, protective. It's that divine protection. Think about a mother protecting her babies. Well, that's what Kali was like. And Kali killed the demons, destroyed the demons, and then the gods were concerned because nothing could stop Kali. So what happened? Well, Shiva goes and lies down in front of Kali, blocking her path. And then she recognizes that she loves Shiva. The divine feminine loves the consciousness that gives rise to all the manifestations, Shiva representing consciousness itself. And so that shocked her back to her wits, and then she calmed down and went back into a more passive form. And it took, again, Shiva lying down and blocking her path to stop the destruction that was going to be wrought. I think this is representative of what happens at the end of an age, and where we are now in some ways, because, mom is going to wipe the slate clean from this dark matrix that has stained the earth and tainted the earth with its dark energies. But this is also saying that she will not wipe us all out. No, I mean, there will be earth changes, but again, consciousness is not going to allow the complete destruction, again, of so much life. It'll do what it has to do to cleanse the planet, to the degree where we can truly step into a new yuga.
Mm-hmm. It's about learning all the things, and I see these as kind of like storybooks for us, in a way, because they have to bring it down to a level that we understand. And, we might perceive this in a very wrong way because each of us, our perceptions are built upon, certain structures that we grew up with. So how we perceive something is going to be far different than how someone else perceives something. So I say we take in the information and don't make any judgments. Just sit on it and see what parallels you can draw from it.
Absolutely. So, yes, it can be confusing because what is being done is giving us deep allegories and stories to conceptualize how the universe works at its biggest level. Durga, also known as Shakti in her warrior form, is the fierce protector of the universe, created by the combined powers of various gods to defeat the buffalo demon. Yes, and the key there is Mahi Asura. So Mahi is great, and Shasura, Asura is that demonic energy that we've talked about, the different Asuras. So this was the biggest of the Asura energies, which only could be overcome by the combined effort of all the Shakti energy. And Parvati, loving and gentle. Durga is powerful and fearless. And then when you go into Kali, Kali is that enraged, divine mother form that has been having her kids, threatened. So, it can be confusing, but what it is that there's a lot of deep allegory. When we look to Shiva and Shakti, we see representations of not just the yin and the yang in their ultimate forms. It's the duality, it's the Tao. And the Tao, again, is the way of everything in this manifested creation, but also beyond the manifested creation. So we have, all aspects, positive, negative, masculine, feminine, etc. Everything that gives us the duality that causes the manifestation. And when we look to the different representations of the goddess or the god, that's again different ways to conceptualize in different forms. It's interesting how often the lion comes up as protective, and the lion is also that representation of Lyra, where the human race is actually born from, as far as our knowledge goes, what we have gotten. And, there is the lion man, which is another incarnation of Vishnu, which I think is giving us another allegory, talking about literal, actual beings, feline, humanoid beings that are, again, the ally of Vishnu, or the ally of the natural order of things. Narayana, yes, we get into these concepts, Shiva and Shakti, again, consciousness and manifestation, and how they are intertwined together. It's fascinating, and it's really, when you start to see the bigger picture, the simplistic viewing of, this as polytheism, it's not really polytheism per se, it's not monotheism. It's really truly beyond that, but it does encapsulate all that. And yet, when we look to Shiva, and you'll see there's also an aspect of Shiva consciousness known as Rudra, which literally means the one that roars. This is one of the earliest forms that were given of Shiva in more of a storm god representation. Again, it's a representation of nature itself. You have Narayana, revered as Vishnu, embodies the eternal force sustaining the cosmos. So then we have Shiva and Shakti, and we have Narayana, and we have Narayani. Well, with the I, it's the feminine form, and with the A, it's the masculine form. And what does it mean? Well, it's kind of like Shiva and Shakti embodied in form and embodied in human form. It's a more immanent form that we can understand. It's, again, divine masculine, divine feminine, but as a more embodied human way of looking at it. And literally, Narayani is a way of saying mom in a way. So it's really fascinating. It can be confusing, but it's actually brilliant in the representation of, what it represents. Narayani, the feminine form of Narayana. And, again, it can come down, and people can say, well, it's just simply Lakshmi and Vishnu. Yeah, but it's Lakshmi and Vishnu in a more materialized human way. So then we have the confusion of Brahma and Brahman. Well, the only difference is an N, but there's a bigger difference than that when we go past the spelling. Again, Brahma is taken to be a creator god, a god that aids in manifestation. And yet Brahma is not really worshipped in Hinduism at all. And when we talk about worship, what is worship really? Well, in the Hindu mindset, it's showing respect. And why would you show respect? Because when you show respect, you get blessed. It's a two-way street. We send our energy and attention to these beings that are called Devis, and they listen to us, and they'll answer us, because, asking you shall receive. So when you're pondering on things and you're looking for big answers in life, and you're sending it off to the universe to a wise teacher, a guru, because each one of them is, will be called a guru. It's a teacher. They're beings that know more than we know in our limited form here as humans embodied on planet Earth. They know way more. So you're looking to them for guidance. You're looking to them for answers. You're looking to them for inspiration. And, you're throwing out energies, and it's a practice. Something we do all the time is we always give fruit out there on our altar as an offering to the devas. And the devas have explained to us that what they do is they take the chi, the life force from the fruit, because we give it to them. They take it, they amplify it, and they send it back to us. So it ends up blessing us more than if we had actually consumed it.
A lot of people ask, so what do you do with the fruit afterwards? And what we do with it afterwards, it goes to the deer or the squirrel or the birds, whoever needs it.
Yeah, and I'm sure even the leftover, instead of being depleted in some way, it's a blessing as well for the animals, because, again, life is here supporting life. So Brahman is that which is behind all the individuated gods. Brahman is not a being. It is being. So Brahman is that consciousness itself before any sort of manifestation, but then also it's after. It's everything. It really literally is the Tao itself. It's the yin and the yang, and it's everything. So it's the source of all forces. It's not a deity to be visualized, but an unseen reality behind all deities' names and forms. Brahman is the truth, the knowledge, and infinity. Brahman is the absolute, eternal, indivisible, infinite. It's the ground of all existence, present in everything that moves and does not yet move. It's beyond the illusion, the Maya of the manifested world, but it is that itself too. It's neither male nor female, neither light nor darkness, neither sound nor silence. It's the essence of all things. Nirguna, it's without qualities, beyond form, attributes, and limitations. Saguna, with qualities, manifesting as Ishvara. Now, Ishvara is the manifested form of the master, you could say, a deity. Personal deities for the sake of devotion. And why do you do devotion? Well, because you're trying to take attributes into you to make you more like these higher beings. Which being do you gravitate to at what particular time? Do you feel that you need the strength of Hanuman, the ability to break through barriers of Ganesha? Do you need the bountifulness of Lakshmi? Do you, again, need the ability to rewrite timelines like Shiva? So it all depends, again, and we are consciousness itself, and we could take on the attributes of these archetypes. So that's where we look at them as like archetypes and archetypal forces. Cindy's been able to see that when I was doing mantras, and the different mantras represented different colors that I was literally taking into my energy field.
It's whatever his higher self feels the energy needs. So when he's doing the mantras, that energetic sensitivity that comes from saying those Sanskrit words, the body automatically knows, like, what do I need? And it just pulls it in. So sometimes it can be pulsing, sometimes it can be like waves of light. And, it just depends. Sometimes you might get a light piece of light shoot out from the left side or the right side, but that's the body balancing itself with those Sanskrit mantras.
Brahman is not a belief, but it's that which makes all belief possible. It's what gives rise to time, space, matter, energy, mind, and soul. Yet it is untouched by all of them. So, this is what the concept is of Brahman, the all, the absolute. Because it's understanding that we are in this universe of apparent duality, but ultimately there is a non-duality behind that. it's all, again, when we look at the yin and the yang, it's two separate sides, but it's part of one. And all the different consciousnesses are really one consciousness manifesting in infinite possibilities.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot to take in, but if you're a curious person and you want to know, this is the place to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so, sometimes, again, when I see comments of people that don't understand what's been given in Hinduism, it's not that ignorance is bliss. It's definitely not bliss. This is way beyond what we might have suspected if we didn't know anything about what these stories and allegories and the 10,000 different gods are truly representing.
Yeah, and I think these animals are just amazing, these guard dogs. I mean, he assesses the situation and he pushes back the bully. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Be the peacemaker. I hope you guys found this interesting and enlightening. Please do leave comments and questions. Much love, source bless, and namaste.
Namaste.